Hello, welcome back for another episode of the Activation Hour podcast. I'm your host, Melissa D. White, aka Coach Mel to so many. And so I am excited because this episode is a bit different. I'm coming to you with one of my very own activation coaching clients who is a new coach. HR specialist, but she just earned a new title that I'm exceptionally proud of, and that's author. Listen, if you're living, that means you have a story. And this young woman and I, believe it or not, connected on Clubhouse. There's so much out there about Clubhouse, how you can just literally authentically connect with people that you may not find on other platforms just by jumping in rooms. And although we have a mutual love for coaching, in my time of training and working with our guest today, coach and author Lynesha Oby out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I've learned that beneath this girl who appears to be meek, she definitely is not. She is so bold and ferocious when it comes to defending the destiny of others. Truly honored to not just be her coach, but to know her story and share her story with you today. She has now published and is launching her first book, From Dirt to Destiny, in May of this year, next month, which is exceptional because if you hear her story of just the journey itself, a lot of times you see people with the written finished book in their hands, but you don't understand the dirt, the hurt, the agony that they went through to produce and publish the story and even just flat out live it out. What we don't realize is we see the stories and we read the books and the podcast and the platforms. And as through coaching Lynesha, I learned firsthand the things she survived. And I can't tell this story for her. She's going to tell it herself of what she survived in this pandemic, of the dirt that even growing up as a PK, a preacher's kid, or even the expectations of perfectionism, how all of these things impacted her and how she took that dirt, those things that were hidden things, and turned it into destiny. And then, more beautiful than that, is how she's leading the way for others as the Destiny Defender. Y'all, I love that title so much. And when you meet her, you'll understand why. Go ahead and give an amazing Activation Hour welcome to my guest today, Coach Lynesha Oby. Welcome so much to the show, Lynesha.
Hello.
Hey, how are you? If I had an applause button, I hit that button like over and
Yes,
over because you deserve it.
thank you. That was an amazing introduction. So thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. Listen, I started telling the audience and our Activation Nation how you and I connected. And before I dig into your transformative story, it is. And I feel like I've only even scratched the surface with what I know. So I'm excited because I want you to go there. That was one of the pushes as your coach was to, if anybody knows about Activation Nation, it's to use your voice, be transparent and
Mhm.
tell the whole story. But we met through another member of our group, Coach Delilah. Shout out Coach Delilah. She's in Memphis and she shouted us out in Clubhouse. And you amazed me. I was like, wait, like these ladies are dominating Clubhouse, meeting people, connecting. I never thought about it in that way. So why coaching? And how does this open you up to your purpose now to be the Destiny Defender?
So why coaching? Working in human resources, I've had to, review a lot of metrics, whether it's employee engagement or satisfaction or employee retention, attrition, looking at those key variables. And what I noticed is that, of course, individuals will leave the organization for a variety of reasons. They'll leave, if it's a toxic work culture, it could be a bad manager or lack of managerial training. But a lot of times, what I've found is that it's just people merely being out of place or out of position. They're
Mm,
working a job, and it's not really a career or has nothing to do with their interests or what they're even passionate about. And so they kind of feel stifled or they're unfulfilled, unsatisfied. And so that led me to, get it. I received a certification in Strong's interest inventory, and that was just the tip of the iceberg that I didn't even know. But, that's a tool that helps individuals discover, start that discovery process. And
Mhm.
then, as you mentioned, just being in Clubhouse, and I'm like, coaching. Okay, a lot of people are doing this. And it's something that I've naturally done. I've always been an accountability partner. I tell people, don't tell me your goals. Don't tell me what you're trying to do, because I'm going to hold you accountable to it. And so
Right.
I just reached out to Coach D. So, and that's how we connected. And so that's where the journey started.
I love that you equated and you found that blend. I like to say that we have to be the blend. You found the blend between your purpose at work through, the strengths finder and helping people identify strengths. But how does knowing your strengths in HR connect to being a coach in destiny? Oftentimes people don't use one skill set from work over in what they're really called to do in the world.
Yeah, so, working in HR, a lot of times I have to do recruiting and, onboarding individuals, finding the right position for them, and not only that, but interviewing them, asking the right questions, and to kind of dig deep to what they may not even be saying, but what they're really
Mhm.
saying. So, how that kind of translates into coaching is, finding those questions to kind of flip the box and make people think about it in a different way, that will help them break the barrier or break whatever it is that's keeping them from pursuing their purpose or finding their purpose, because a lot of people may not even know that.
It's I love how you say that with pursuing purpose. We hear purpose a lot, and we always want to put purpose in a box. Like, my purpose only belongs outside of my job. My purpose only belongs from 5 till 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. And my 9 to 5 is a totally separate world. How has it been personally for you? Tell the deeper story of working in HR, which you love. You love HR, but
Mhm.
what was it? What was the moment? What was the thing, the life event when you knew I'm good over here, but I can be greater serving people here too? How did you know that?
I want to say I figured that out just because, yes, I'm great at. I say I'm great at what I do in HR, and but I want to feel like I'm making an impact. That when people come to me and we intersect in this moment in time in history, that I want to be able to leave some long lasting impact on, moving them forward. So into what their purpose and passions are, and so, ultimately that's what gives me the most fulfillment. That's what makes my heart happy. That's what makes me get
Mhm.
up. Yes, I love HR, and it's my job, but being a coach and is what I do, and that's who I am.
Was there a day or a moment when you what and oftentimes this is what I have found personally, right? Is usually there's some sort of struggle, right? The dirt that you write about,
Hmm.
tragedy, trauma, an activation, something where the light just goes off and you're like, "Oh, I have to do this. I don't have a choice." What was that moment when it came to writing From Dirt to Destiny? And tell the truth, because you knew, like, you did not want to write this. You
No,
told me that.
no.
Okay.
So I guess, my activation moment truly was when I realized and started to focus on what really matters, what matters the most. So, I've always known that there's a call in my life, there's a purpose, an assignment, something much bigger than what I am in my dad always says, you're born into a family.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, but I never really wanted to pursue it. And why? Because I don't like to talk, number one, and that's the what we're doing right now. Okay, I
Yeah.
don't like it, but I don't like to talk, but I talk because it's what I do for a living. So, but it's just the kind of imposter syndrome, being vulnerable, having people looking at you, and then all of the background noise that doesn't even matter. Like, what am I looking like right now? Are they understanding my message, and how all that can kind of get caught up in what you're even trying to deliver? So, ultimately, when I moved back to Wisconsin, that was really my activation moment, because I moved back in 2017. I was 30, and I knew that, God told me to say, hey, go back home, help your dad. And I'm like, I'm here, Lord. And then I did absolutely nothing. Whoop, I
Wow.
moved here and did nothing. And then in 2018, I was so convicted because now I'm like, well, here I am not being obedient. And
Mm-hmm.
so towards the end, when it was leading up to my birthday, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do 40 days of focus. If I can commit an hour a
Mm.
day for 40 days to finish my book, because I had been stuck on page 18 for like 3 years. And I'm
Wait,
like,
say that again. You were stuck.
on page 18
Uh,
for 3 years.
Come on. Somebody is stuck like one or two pages, or even a few chapters in. And I call that place the middle. It's like I'm excited to start it. I believe I'll finish, but boy, that middle does not feel good.
Not at all. And so
Okay.
so I committed to and at that time I was a flight attendant, so I wasn't even working in HR. So I'm traveling all over, but I was so determined. I'm like, I'm going to write it on my phone if I have to. I'm going to bring my laptop with me to work if I have to, because this
Mm,
is something that I have to do. And it was like in those moments, the grace met me there, because even though my goal was spend an hour a day and write one page, so that by the end of the 40 days, if you only have 40 pages, you've made progress.
that's
But
good.
it was in those moments that I would write like 5, 6, 7, almost 10 pages just in that time frame. And I actually finished the book before 40 days. So it was just taking the time to actually do it. And
Mm.
I know that's
So wait,
motivating, but no.
I can't, I'm not going to breeze by that. Like you didn't just say what one. Okay. So those few pages set for how long that you wrote?
Yeah,
3 years. What you put off for 3 years in actuality took you 40 days. Somebody catch that for our live listeners. What are you putting off right now for 1 year, 2 years, 10 years that when you focus could really take you 40 days? I could get so spiritual about that. Come on, Israelites is stuck in the wilderness for 40 years and for generations. But you shared with me, in our coaching, in our time together. I said, what was it, Lynesha? Like something, you don't just move from being stuck like that in dirt. You was stuck in the dirt. And something, you were coming up on a monumental time when you said, I cannot go into this new season and not release this book, because I've been telling everybody about it. Remember you told me that? You said, I told everybody and their mama about this book, and I'm going to look crazy if I don't do it. Talk about that.
Yes, yes. I had. And it's like, and you know what? People would even check me and say, Lenisha, where's your book? And now I'm like,
Mm,
well, now you're holding me accountable. And while I appreciate it, I don't at the same time. So, but so it's just like, I didn't want to be embarrassed, because I've been saying I'm going to do something, and I'm a very goal oriented person. So it's like, for me not to attain this goal, what is the issue? What is the problem? So it was just
mm.
setting the intention, shifting my mindset, and making the decision that I'm going to do this.
I appreciate so much. As a coach, we don't always get this opportunity because, our sessions are confidential, but you told me no. And that was one of the agreements I make with any of my coaching clients who share their story openly like this. I say, hey, if we're doing this to activate others, right, to go from that stuck place to activate it and going full force into it, there was something I asked you one day. I said, hey, what are you afraid of with this book? What are you not confronting? Not just with the writing of the book, but then there was the delay in the release of the book.
Mhm.
Talk about that, because I believe that also contributes to the process and the struggle of releasing something like this. And we're not just talking about books here, guys. If you're listening, this applies to anything in your life. That business, the book, the show, the job. There's so many people who felt stuck, and all of a sudden now we've been in a pandemic and the world is opening up, and it's like, wait, I cannot go back to whatever I was doing before or pre-pandemic. So there was something very specific you shared. Do you mind sharing what that was, that fear of releasing the book even after you wrote it?
Yes, definitely, fear of judgment, fear of being vulnerable, because one thing about
Mm,
me, I do not tell people my business. They don't know anything.
mhm,
I literally could have a conversation with someone and leave, and I will know their entire life story, and they will know
mhm,
nothing about me, nothing. And I used to like think that that was a good thing, but as I've gotten older, I'm like, that's kind of unhealthy. And so, just kind of self-reflecting and knowing that, you know what, it's okay. We're all imperfect. But using those imperfections to help other people be released from whatever is holding them back. So, but definitely it was the fear of being vulnerable and fear of judgment.
mhm. That's incredibly honest and brave. And oftentimes what we talked about too is that we tell ourselves a narrative. It's like the world doesn't even know about what we're doing yet. This is an internal dialogue.
Mhm.
Right?
Right.
It's a whole conversation of self versus self, and we make up the narrative of what we think other people will say.
Absolutely.
And you said something to me one day. I know you're like, why is Coach Mel putting me on blast
Yeah,
like
she
this?
is.
But I listen, if we live it, we can what? We can tell it. One
Mhm.
day you said to me, we were talking about perfectionism. And and it wasn't just your book, it was your coaching program. I mean, you are such a planner and such a researcher
Yes.
and meticulous in details, which is an amazing quality, right?
Mhm.
But the work had been done, the investments had been made. And I said, Lynesha, done is better than perfect. And you said, no. Like you literally looked at me like, are you crazy? You said, no,
No.
no, no, no. It has to be perfect. And I was like, girl, it's gonna be okay. You like, not like you freaked out. But you overcame that place. And we had to have a heart to heart that night. You remember?
I do remember.
And I hope this is helping someone because it was in that place you were so that was probably the most vulnerable. You talked about vulnerability. And
Mhm.
you said, no, if my name is on it, it has to be perfect. And I said, but if you're constantly creating changes to it, you'll never reach perfect. And you sat there and I said, what happens? I said, are you going to end up back in a situation where you accomplish this in 40 days after it sat for years? Then what? And you just I don't think I ever saw that look on your face before. But now here we are, less than 30 days from the launch of your book. What changed? How did you kill that perfectionism?
Ultimately, it just took to knowing and really truly understanding deep down inside that this is not even about me. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with those that I've been called to reach. And that's ultimately what led me to this program, because it spoken to me that people are called to you, they're called to your voice, they're called to
Yeah.
your product, whatever it is that you've been gifted with, people are called to that. So you have to activate it. And so it really took some self-reflection that, yes, even though I do want to be perfect, there's no such thing. And it
Mm.
just really took, going deep, which a lot of people don't like to do, because that's looking at the ugly parts, your hidden parts. That's removing the masks, the facade, whatever it is that you try to portray to the world. You have to let that go, and you have to be able to release that in order to reach the people that are assigned to you.
Mm. I'm so proud of you. Guys, I have to show you the cover of this amazing book. When I tell you, when I saw the cover and I saw you finally posted, I like literally leaped and I screamed. I was like, yes! I mean, it was this proud coach moment when you see the optimal result. Like you knew, I said, what does success look like to you at the end of this program? And you said to have a plan, a strategy to release my coaching program
Mhm.
and to release this book. And you did it kicking and screaming, but you did it. You did it. And so I want our audience and our viewers to see this book. If you're watching here live with us, it's just the cover itself. It's just stunning. Look at that. I know that's your baby. You're like,
Wow.
yay!
Yeah.
Dirt to Destiny. Um, living a life of obedience. Living a life of obedience. And what a picture, the juxtaposition between a desert, a dry place, and a place that looks abundant and full of life. And what resonated in looking at this was a shift happened, and because of the word obedience. And you said something too about, that call, like it was an act of obedience for you to move back to Milwaukee. It was an act of obedience to go help your dad.
Mhm.
It was, a series of small acts, like one foot in front of the other. Tell us about that process in releasing your book.
Whew. It's
Yeah.
like literally writing the book is my life. Living it out. Living a life of obedience is an intentional journey, but it's so healing, it's so freeing because you're not bound by trying to figure it out on your own. It's just being led and taking it one step at a time. And so ultimately, as it relates to releasing the book, it's like, okay, I know I want to be perfect. I know I wanted to do it a certain way, but and Coach Mel knows. She asked me what my deadline was, and I said I wanted to release it in September. And she's like, "Why?"
It wasn't allowed. I couldn't let it fly.
So she's like, "You know what? Why? Why?" And that's such a
Mhm.
simple question, but why?
Mhm.
And so I, it was done. It was done with editing. Everything is literally done. So what am I holding on to? And so I was like, no, I need to be obedient because I know ultimately this is part of my assignment and this is what I have been called to do. So I need to take that step. I've taken all the other ones,
Yeah.
so just keep moving forward.
You know, um, Here's the transparent moment. Because coaches, if you're a coach or a mentor or one who sows into the lives of others in any capacity, what happens is that for every person you work with, and now Lanisha as a new coach, I'll impart this, you always find that moment when your client is holding a mirror up at you and you realize the person you attract is either who you were just a few years ago or a few steps back in your own journey, right? Or it becomes a reflection of who you are now and what you have to face. So that's my transparent moment as your coach and friend and cheerleader here. Is it was such a revelation when to watch you have these transformational sessions when I said, okay, what are you not releasing? And we talked about that. And here's the reciprocity. Me coaching you helped you coach me back. I know you're like, what? Yes. Activation is not a one-way street. It's like a boomerang. It's cyclical. I can't activate you without myself being in turn plugged in and just totally ignited with purpose. And I started to ask, what am I holding on to for years that could have taken me days? And it was my own story. Or like when you share it with me, and this is one of those situations where I'm gonna like ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Oh God.
You're like, oh goodness. You shared with me that one of the struggles of telling your story and releasing it in a book format is sharing it with your family.
I knew you were gonna say
I
that.
know. I was like, I mean, but it's a part of the story, and that's real for a lot of
Mhm.
people. That there are things in order for us to go from dirt to destiny. There may be, I'll say, for lack of a better word, dirt or just hidden things that nobody knows, and it's hard. It's one thing when perfect strangers know it. It's like, okay, whatever. I don't know you, but when the people closest to you now have this newfound information. And the biggest activation you had was when I said, is it that if you don't tell them this, does that mean that they don't fully know who you are? And what did you say?
They don't.
Wow. What that did, I know my prayer for you is that that statement, that admission from you does the same for so many people. I said the same thing. I was like, wow, if we don't tell the vulnerable pieces, if we don't expose that, then people don't really know who we are. Talk about that. How did that liberate you?
Because it felt like it was a weight lifted off, because it's like it's something that you carry around, only you know. Some people say, I'm gonna take it to my grave, and it's like, what?
But then in the grave, it does no good. It doesn't help anybody.
No. And while that was never my intention to necessarily do that, it was just like it has to be in time. And so
Mm,
that in and of itself was just freeing to me, just to know that now I can be my true and authentic self, and I can show up as my true and authentic self, because like I said, it's about going deep. It's about removing your mask, and the ideal, of perfection has to be removed. So
mm. That's so powerful. Look, if you're listening to this show, first, make sure you follow coach and author Lynesha Oby. She is moving into destiny, the shift, literally to see the way you have blossomed over, oh my gosh, has it been 4 months now? Has it been 4 months? Wow.
mm,
12 weeks, to see that occur over the last 12, 16 weeks has been an honor to see it. And I can't wait to hold my physical copy of the book in my hand. But go follow her journey. She does some amazing reels and like TikTok videos and snippets with tips, not just on the HR side, but on the destiny side as well, on Instagram and also on your Facebook page. And when we come back, we're going to talk about El Marie Coaching and Consulting, and how you are defending the destiny of others, which is, that sounds like such a warrior statement. I'm a destiny defender. And I
definitely.
live for that. I love it. So, guys, if this is blessing you and you are really enjoying this conversation, hit that share button, turn on your notifications, bring some other people to the conversation to get activated with my guest today, Coach Lynesha Oby. We'll be right back after this very quick break. Don't go anywhere. All right. Activation Coaching International, where we're on a mission to activate 1,000 coaches, speakers, and business owners to monetize, repurpose, and package your message, allowing you to attract your ideal clients and build platforms using your voice that generate multiple streams of income. We've helped countless coaches achieve optimal results to get the training and support they need for a successful coaching practice and speaking business. Become a certified life and business coach to enhance your skills and serve at mass. Learn how to build a platform that attracts your ideal clients through Activation Coaching International. Apply today. So, Coach Lynesha, if you just saw and heard our commercial, is one of our graduates from Activation Coaching International, and it has newly launched the El Marie Coaching and Consulting Program. So, just huge kudos from our Activation Nation community to you as a new coach. I just couldn't be more proud of to celebrate you as a new certified ACI life and leadership coach, as well as author. So you got to tell us, girl, this is your year. You're on it. Tell us how it feels to now be a coach, and about the launch of the coaching program along with your book, From Dirt to Destiny.
Yeah, this year has been crazy, and we're only in April. But it's just going into my birthday, I'm like, this is my Jesus year. I'm 33, so I need to be walking in my purpose. There's no more time, because it's time. So, the goal of my program is ultimately to help individuals find their passion, which will lead them to their purpose, and overall fulfillment in their lives. And anybody that knows me or has been following me for any length of time knows that aspire to inspire is my life motto. It is what I live
I
by.
love it.
And it's what I literally try to do is just aspire. I aspire to inspire individuals to ultimately
Mm.
be free from their past, whatever bondage, shame, guilt, whatever it is that they may be going through, and realize their full potential. Because um, I don't think I talked about it, but I know, last year was a very trying year. And before I was actually hospitalized due to COVID, I had made a post that said, we don't have time to waste time. So what are we doing with the time that we have? And ultimately, that is my new phrase. I say it all the time when it comes time to make decisions or, strategize and whatever. It's, what am I doing with the time that I have? How am I maximizing that? And I know that I've truly been called to help others find their purpose. It might sound crazy, but that is my purpose. I love to walk with individuals as they uncover and discover who it is that they were created to be. Everybody's been placed on the earth for this moment in time in history to do something. And so watching individuals go through that transformation is so fulfilling for me.
Yeah, it's a huge reward. And you you talk about your Jesus year. I love that even in a low moment, and you like to just breeze by like these big moments that you say. I'm like, well, like, wait a minute, hospitalized, COVID. When you revealed that to me in the midst of our coaching, I said, if this woman can show up fully, like you were on it. You didn't miss a beat. You didn't miss an assignment. You did not miss a session or counsel. And you had every reason to in the midst of all that you had gone through. How did that experience shape and push you to finally finish, release, and celebrate from dirt to destiny and the launch of your coaching program? Because that definitely had an impact on you.
Absolutely. And to this day, it still has lingering effects, but it's like, ultimately, it definitely, like you said, it pushed me forward because it's like, whoa, you tried to take me out, but I'm still here and I'm still here for a moment. I'm still here for a reason. And so now, even more than before, because I was already going on that trajectory, it probably wouldn't have been accelerated as much as it has. But it's like, oh, okay, I don't have time to waste time. Like I said, I always go back to that. So even when I was in the hospital, I was still working on stuff, doing stuff. And it's like, because now this is giving me the motivation that I needed. Because it's like, guess what? People always say tomorrow is not promised. And I like to say today isn't promised because so many people wake up
Mm,
and do you know how many people wake up thinking that they're going to get to come home? Like, so it's like, no, I need to maximize the moment that I'm in right now because
yeah.
I can either be paralyzed in my present or I can be pushed into my future, and I choose the latter. So
Today is not promised. Lanisha, if that was ever a statement to be made, that's so real that many people leave their homes and don't expect, hey, I could be hospitalized today. I may not make it today. And I could just imagine in my mind when you shared that story with me before and even now hearing it again in a new way, like to be so young, respectfully young, and be faced with something so scary like that. And I know for me personally, I went into overdrive. I was like, no, no, no. Not that I was even personally touched by COVID, just the fear of it. I was like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I can't go yet. Like fear just crept in. But it was the kind of fear that pushed me and said, I gotta get this all out of me before it's my time. Was it something like that? Or what were the kind of thoughts as you were battling to conquer this thing, this thing that so many people have suffered from with COVID? What went through your mind that it sounds like a shift that pushed you into your destiny to even be in that place? What happened?
absolutely. It was like, listen, you almost didn't make it. Do you know how many people went in the hospital and did not make it out? And so I have to be grateful and thankful,
Yeah.
number one, because yes, I still am here. And so now it's like I'm obligated. I'm obligated to
Mm.
pull out what I've been trying to suppress for so long because I am still here. And so that's ultimately and definitely it was a mind shift, a mind shift is what I'll say. To keep me.
So I've heard two very powerful words I want to highlight from you. One being obedience and the other one being obligation. I've heard that was several times. What Why is obedience such a critical part of destiny?
I would say obedience is critical to your destiny because it has everything to do with who you are. It has everything to do with the different traits, qualities, whatever is on the inside of you, it has to come out of you, and that is what is creating and pushing you towards your purpose. I think a lot of times people ultimately they try to make it complicated, and it's like, no,
Hmm.
let's just dial it back.
Yeah.
What are you passionate about? What do you like to do? What are your interests? And those will push you and steer you into the direction that you ultimately were placed, because those are the qualities that you were born with. So it's
Hmm.
just being who you are, and understanding, like, this is who I am, and now what am I doing with it?
So look, I'm impatient. I can't wait for anything. And I have to know. Give us like a teaser from the book. What's like yep. You gotta give a teaser. Uh Media exclusive, activation hour exclusive. Doesn't have to be like all of it. Just maybe a moment, a cliffhanger in the book that talks about from dirt to destiny.
A cliffhanger.
Yeah.
The cliffhanger is at the end, so just be ready for that. But
So that
um,
means you gotta read it from beginning to end, y'all. There's no skipping.
no skipping at all. But just like a little snippet. Of course, the book follows Jewel. That's the main character,
Okay.
and it follows her life. And so it talks about things that women or young girls deal with as they're growing up, whether it's relationships or just trying to figure out who they are, where they are in life, figure out that space. But a cliffhanger that I can leave you with without giving away too much
Mhm.
is the beginning. Nope, I'm not gonna give that one. That one is too juicy. I want you guys to read the beginning and the end, okay? Read that.
Okay. So you're gonna get just out the gate, just punched with a big impact in the beginning of the story and in the end. And then the middle is just gonna kind of take you on a journey,
Mhm.
from shifting from dirt to destiny.
Yeah.
So what's the actual release date? And when can your fans, your audience, and supporters go purchase and order their copy of From Dirt to Destiny?
Yes. So it was May 9th, but May 9th is Mother's Day. So I didn't want to take that. I didn't want to take that away from my mama.
Yeah,
So
right.
the new release day is going to be May 15th.
Awesome. May 15th. So, guys, you heard it right here. Make sure you connect and follow Coach and author Lynesha Oby. Her Instagram information is right here below at the.lanisha.marie. To learn more about the book and the release dates, make sure you turn on your notifications so you know when she's dropping that link to pre-order your book. And if you want to connect with her for coaching, send her a message there or even on Facebook at El Marie Coaching and Consulting to learn more about her services. Now, as we kind of wrap this all up, what can your coaching clients expect when they participate in your program that I know you worked so hard to put together and launch? Because there's a coaching journey that goes along with the book journey.
Absolutely. So what can they expect? They can expect, basically, it's going through the journey that I had to go through, and it's dealing with your
Mm,
mind and being
mm,
free from your mind. That's ultimately what my coaching program is about, because so many times we're held back just from negative thinking or whatever it is. So a lot of it will definitely be breaking people from the negative thinking or thoughts that they may have that's hindering them from moving forward into their purpose and destinies. And they're gonna, similar to Coach Mel, because when I say, if anybody needs a coaching program, can I just shout out Coach Mel for 1 second? Because
I didn't pay her for this plug, but go ahead.
when I tell you she was on me, and I always am like, oh, I'm smooth with my words. I can get around. I can just say something nice and keep pushing. And Coach Mel would be like, oh, let's rewind for 1 second and let's dig into it. So she will hold you
Yeah.
accountable. And that is what I am, your accountability partner. And I want you to win. I want everyone to, because we can't just go through life haphazardly. Um, I want to wake up every day and enjoy what I'm doing. And that's the same feeling that
Mhm.
I want for others to have as well.
I love it. That's really what coaching is. We said it all the time. Is we have to redefine that because it's been misused and watered down so much in our culture. It literally is getting in the dirt, getting your hands dirty and combing through that dirt to find the jewels and the gems that may have been planted in that rough season and carrying the good stuff over into the destiny place. I just love it. And like I said, that book cover just spoke to me. It ministered to me. And that's so powerful. And so I know the inside of the book is just going to be even much more impactful. So guys, make sure again that you follow coach and author Lynesha Oby. Final thoughts. What message would you like to leave, or one tip, an action that our audience can take right now, where they're sitting, where they're listening or watching this, to go from dirt to destiny? You took several first steps. There was that first step to move back home. There was that first step to believe and walk in being a coach, to write the book, then finish it, then publish it. So, what's a first step tip that you can give our audience to just put that foot over the line, like in your picture? I'm gonna bring that picture back up while you're talking, but like in the picture where you go from the dirt, the dry place, and step over into that green place of promise. And as you're speaking, I want you guys, if you're watching this live, to just envision crossing that line from dirt over into green places of destiny.
Yeah. So, I just will leave everyone with I call it my 4 Ds of destiny. And it's be deliberate, be intentional, cautious, and thoughtful about what you're doing. Make sure you're
Mm,
disciplined, have the strategy of what you need to do.
mhm.
I think about it like a track. If a Olympic gold medalist, you know how often they probably have to train in order to get to and attain that. I used to run track, believe it or not, and I was not even committed to running 2 days.
Wow.
I didn't want to do that. So you have to have the strategy and the discipline in order to go to the next level. Next, you have to have a deadline. What is the action plan, the timeline? You have to set those goals so that you know that the small steps that you're taking, they will eventually add up to the larger goal. But you have to have an action plan. And then lastly, you just have to be determined. You have to be unwavering. It has to be forever settled in your heart and mind that you will do, you will accomplish, you will be who you were created to be.
Wow. Drop those 4 Ds one more time. Audience, this is the note taking moment, and you can absolutely catch this in our show notes. Give us the 4 Ds one more time.
Deliberate,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have discipline, you have to have a deadline, and most importantly, you have to be determined.
That's so good. Deliberate, discipline, deadline, and determined. Guys, give it up, give some hearts, some likes, and drop a comment below to show some love to our guest in the Activation Hour, coach and author Lynesha Oby. Oh my gosh. Huge, huge, proud moment. Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
your book. I'm excited to hopefully be one of the first to buy your pre release copy. So, guys, if you've been listening to this episode and you feel activated to shift from your dirt to your destiny, connect with Coach Lynesha, but also sit with this episode in the 4 Ds that she shared. And also, I'm going to call them her 2O formula. I just made that up because it made sense in my head that we have to obey and know that we have an obligation to shift from dirt to destiny, and that the dirt, the dry place, is not the place where we're stuck in the middle. There's a promise of greener, of better, of abundance on the other side of that. Coach, it's an honor to be your coach and to cheer you into your destiny as well. Guys, you've been activated. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you love this episode and you enjoyed our guest today, make sure you turn on your notifications where we go live on the Activation Hour YouTube channel with our guests, as well as on our Facebook page, and subscribe on all podcast platforms to catch our Audible platform each week. You've been tuned in to the Activation Hour. I'm Melissa D. White, joined with my guest, Lynesha Oby. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.